Hello, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful round of track guides hosted by Amadeo Castorino. And I'm just going to do a little bit of translation here for the layman's terms of how to get things done. Amadeo, how are you doing, my good friend?
Oh, it's everything looking good. So yeah, I'm ready for this new track guide and Mon Panorama. Pretty tough track, so probably we will have much to say in especially in some corner here. So yeah, looking excited for that.
Exciting circuit, an exciting round of GT4 Open and the Rookie Series. Where do you expect a lot of the mistakes are going to happen tonight, Amadeo?
Um, well, probably the most complicated corner will be the skyline at Mon Panorama, because it's very easy to lose the car here in the downhill, and you have also big wall that it's never soft. So I mean, probably this is the worst part of the track, the most complicated to do. So this is where I expect more mistakes. So probably when we will come later to this corner, we will have a lot to talk about.
Well, sounds good. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with your wonderful track guide explanation. And here we are coming down the front straight. Take it away, sir.
Yeah, so we start from turn one, of course. The brake marker, it's not precise here again, because it's after the 100-meter board. So there are also not clear reference on the grass. Like, you have this small brown patch that you could maybe see, but it's not that clear. Yeah, I take as a reference. Also, you can take this maybe when you have the last Audi Sport um, sponsor. Basically, you can break like that, like at the beginning also of the black sponsor, just like 5 meters earlier than that. Personally, I take the 100-meter board and I say like I will break 5 meters later than that, 10 meters later than that. Anyway, just take in mind, it's not at the 100-meter board, but it's later than the 100-meter board and sooner than this black sponsor on the right. So it's between that.
Okay, so right around before the 75-meter marker, then for sure, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have it, but yeah, you have to imagine it, and but yeah, this is the breaking point basically.
Okay, and this is turn one, Hell's Corner, if I remember correctly, and one of the
I
hardest
don't
corners.
know the name, but it's turn one. I know that.
Turn one, all right. And I think it's one of the hardest corners to get right on the track just because, like what you said, you don't have a good braking reference here. So it feels like
Yeah,
you're
and
always
it
taking it differently.
yeah, and it seems to be a easy corner, but you can easily gain or lose 2 3 tenths here, because the exit from this corner is crucial, because after this corner you have a long straight. So you want to make sure to have a very good exit out of there. So you have to sacrifice the entry, so it's a s- slow entry for have a fast exit in this corner. So you want to brake very carefully. uh, in the first phase, you brake at 100%, but when you are in a straight line, you downshift to second gear, and then when you start to turn in, you start also to tail brake, and you want to put a lot of braking into the corner, but just around 20-30%, because if you brake more, you will lock up the front tires. But that is helping a lot the car to rotate faster, especially because all the GT4 have a lot of understeer, so you always need to put a bit of braking power into the corner. And for reference, the point where you want to start to turn in, it's basically at the 50-meter board. When you don't see it anymore, you can start to turn in basically. Um, the ideal line is like that. You don't want to touch the inside curb, but you want to stay just very tight to the inside curb without touching it. So basically, you want to put your wheel over the white line or very near to the white line, because if you touch the inside curb, the car will start to bounce, so you will lose a lot of speed for your exit, and also your line will be a bit compromised, because you will slide a bit also to into the right. So you will have to lift a bit the throttle, so you will lose even more time.
Hmm, even more sacrificing there.
Exactly. So what you want to do is take an easy entry for have a good exit, because it's better to lose 1/10 on the entry, because on the exit you can lose also half a second if you have a bad exit out of there. So make sure to do a good exit out of there. You can use all the track basically, like don't touch the gravel because you will lose the grass because you will lose time, but use all the green carpet here on the exit. That's fine. There is no track limits here. So yeah, use all the track on the exit. So you want to go on throttle basically at the apex of that corner. Like you trail braking a lot. Then on the middle of the corner you can start to go on throttle, and remind that when you go much higher on throttle, much you need to steer less your steering wheel, because if you go too aggressively on throttle with too much steering angle, um, you will lose traction, and in the worst case you will lose the car, you will spin the car, so it's not ideal, of course. So that's why you always want to use all the track on the exit, because you want to complete the corner with the less steering wheel needed, steering angle needed.
Copy. And Amadeo, how true is
Yeah.
this advice for when you're racing in a circuit like this versus when you're just hot lapping? Obviously, I think some of the drivers are going to want to go side by side through this corner. So, what's it like to take the unideal line or the outside line here?
I mean, of course, when you usually it's not that good overthinking spot there turn one, because later you will have a state. So if you have a bad exit, you will lose your position again. Um, anyway, like usually you can overtake only if you are side by side here. And if you're side by side, if you are on the outside, maybe you can brake a little bit later. So maybe brake at the beginning of the black sponsor on the right. So like 10 meters later, 5 meters later. And because you will do a wider line, so you can brake a little bit later. Or if you want to take the outside, if your rival on your inside is braking too late, it's better to try to brake a little bit more on the last phase for do a switchback on the exit. Anyway, it's very important to give the space to each other here, because a very common thing that can happen is that the guy on the inside will be closed a bit too much, so he will have to touch the inside curb. And if he touch the inside curb, he will jump into the car that is in the outside. So if you are in the outside, make sure to give a lot of space on the inside here, because it's bad also for you, because if the person on your inside will take the curb, he will crash into your car, so it's not ideal.
And then this always could set you up for an overtake towards turn two, also, to where if the person on the inside touches that curb, you can
Yeah,
overtake them down the long straight here and then set them up for turn two for an overtaking position there.
yeah, exactly. For turn two, also, there is only one way when you are racing with someone else, is to cover the inside, because in turn two it's impossible to overtake on the outside, because on the outside, I will show you in a bit things. Okay. On the outside, you have, maybe you can't see that good, but you have some bumpy track on the outside, and there is also a bit of camber on the outside.
Right.
So if you go a bit too wide here, uh, your car will stop to turn. Yeah, like the front of the car will be not responsive anymore, so you will lose a lot of time. You will have a lot of understeer, so it's pretty much impossible to do an overtake on the outside of this corner. So always cover the inside if you are fighting with someone before this corner, because there is no way that on the outside they will overtake you. So even if you are on the inside, brake carefully, because on the outside it's almost impossible they will overtake you. Like the only way is that they will overtake you before to go into the corner, because if they are on your outside in the apex of that corner, it's impossible that they will complete it.
Perfect. Thank you very much for explaining that.
Yeah. Anyway, how you have to approach turn two normally for a qualifying lap is that you have to brake at the beginning, basically It's a bit later than the 100-meter board, but sooner than this asphalt patch on the left. So basically, because right now I'm starting to tapping the brake, but I'm already with my POV in front of the 100-meter board. So basically, your reference is later than the 100-meter board, sooner than this asphalt patch. This is the braking point for turn 2. You want to brake also very hard at the beginning. Downshift to third gear, because if you downshift to second gear, the car could be a bit unstable, especially with the other GT4. With the Chevrolet, you can try second gear, but the ideal thing is try to put a lot of speed, carrying the momentum, and try to stay in third gear also with the Chevrolet, because then you will have also one gear less to shift up, because every time you are shifting one gear up, you will lose a little bit of time.
Okay.
So, and as a reference for turn in the car, it's basically later than the 15-meter board, a bit later. You can take maybe this tree on the left, like the last tree on the left, then you start to turn on the right. Or anyway, just take in mind is later than the 50-meter board and a lot sooner than the Marshall, if you prefer to take the Marshall as a reference. But the most accurate for sure is the tree on the left, if you need a reference for turn in point. Or also the start of the black wall on the right basically is a good reference for start to turn in. Then you start to trail brake very soon. You can see that I'm already braking only 20-30%. Then you want to go also on throttle very soon in this corner, because if you go too late, you will slow down too much the car, and with GT4 that doesn't have a lot of power, will be hard to get the speed again. So you want to have a good minimum speed here, and so that's why you are braking very soon for going off throttle very soon. The reference for going off throttle you can take after basically after this red sponsor symbol. Yeah, after that you can start to go on throttle, or also you can take this other sponsor for going on throttle. Of course, you want to stay again very tight, and also from the beginning you will stay very tight, because also as I said before, if you go wide here, you will lose a lot of time, because the car will be not responsive anymore, because there are a bit of bump on the middle of the track here. So stay very careful under braking, because if you will go wide in this corner, you will lose a lot of time. So stay very tight from the beginning, so you can go on throttle very soon, and it's faster. And use all the track also for the exit. As you can see, you can go as near as possible to the inside wall, and it's fine. There is no track limits also in this corner, of course, because the track limit is the wall. Don't worry also about take this curve. It's pretty easy to take because it's pretty flat, so there is no problem on that. And yeah, it's everything in third gear this corner, so try to don't downshift to second. And yeah, that's it about turn 2 if there are no questions.
Oh, no questions that I see. You've done a great job of explaining everything so far, and this obviously sets you up for turn 3 and turn
Yeah,
4 headed into the cutting.
exactly. For turn 3, you want to use all the track on the right, so you want to stay very near to the wall on the right. Basically, you put your wheel over the white line. Then you start to turn in. Um, just slightly, you see, it's not a big steering wheel input. But basically, you can take that you need to steer the wheel a bit sooner than the end of this wall on the right. You want to start to steering a bit into the left, not too much, because if you steer too much, you will go into the inside wall. So you do all flat out, and when you take basically turn 3, when you are at the apex of turn 3, you start to brake, and you want to stay very tight on turn 3. You see I'm very tight to the inside wall, because then we want to brake as straight as possible, aiming to the right for have the biggest radius as possible for turn 4. So I'm starting to braking at the apex of turn 3. braking very hard at the beginning, and you see that I'm aiming a lot on the right for more radius. Don't go too much on the right, like you don't want to go over the white line, because if you go over the white line there is some bumps, so the car will start to bounce and you will lock up more the tires, so you will lose a bit the ability of slow down the car, and you can hit the wall or do a wrong line by going wider.
Going over that white
Uh,
line is like a death trap. It's a suction. It'll just
yeah,
suck you into the guardrails at that point.
yeah, exactly. So maybe start to brake also a bit sooner if you need, or maybe just lift a bit the throttle and then brake for slow down a bit earlier, because yeah, if you are too fast in this moment, like it's over, you can't do nothing anymore. It's too late.
Yeah.
And on the last phase, as you can see, I'm starting very soon to release the brake because I was careful as well. Also because on the last phase, even if you are a bit more on the middle of the track, there is still some bump, a bit less than over the white line. But if you stay with like 100% braking force in this moment, it's very easy to lock up the car and the tires, and the car will be unstable, because if you brake too much, um, you will lose the agility of the front, and while it's bouncing is even worse. So you want to don't brake too much on the last phase of this corner. Um, you take also as a steering input. There are not big reference there. Um, you can take the wall on the left, the black wall, the end of the black wall. It's not that easy to see by your POV in this moment, but is the only clear reference that you can take. Uh, Also, you want to aim to the apex very soon, and at this corner to stay very tight to the inside wall here. Because more tight you are to the inside wall, more soon you can go straight with your steering wheel, and more soon you can go with your steering wheel straight. Uh, More aggressively you can go on throttle, so more fast you are. Um, so you stay also, you don't want to brake too late, because there are also, now the track is going a bit downhill, then the track will go a bit uphill, so that doesn't help as well to have a stable car. So you stay very tight to the left. You want to go on throttle as soon as possible. So again, make sure to have a easy entry, slow down the car a lot on the entry for going on throttle as soon as possible, because again, after this corner you will have, it's not straight, but you will have a lot of meters that you will do flat out, so it's very important to have a good exit again. So take it easy on the entry and go very soon on throttle.
Okay.
As you can see, I'm trying to steer less as possible, and I'm going to use all the trackers on the right. Like, even if you touch, like you do a small touch on the wall, it's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world. The ideal line is like that. Like, you can use all the white line, but if you don't touch the wall, of course it's better. But if you give a little kiss to this wall, it's not the end of the world, because you will not have also big damage by touching the wall in this exit. Then we go for turn 5. We still stay all on the right. We don't need to prepare this corner because it's a easy flat out corner. Try to don't abuse the curb, because it will be unstable your car, because this curb it's not too flat. It's a bit higher on the middle, so the car will be a little bit unstable over there, and you will lose a bit of thousands. So it's not ideal to touch this curve. You just want to stay on the white line um, with your wheels.
Okay.
Then we go to turn 6, I think. You want to stay much as possible on the left for prepare turn 6 and 7, because you will have a lot of bundles here with GT4. So you need to prepare as better as you can. As you can see, I'm very tight to the wall on the left here. And for steer, for turning point, it's basically you start to turn in very slightly, a bit before this tree on the left. You can
My
see
favorite
now
reference point is this big tree here.
Yeah. A bit before it, as you can see, like it's not that clear reference, but I mean, like 5 meters, 10 meters before the tree, you start to turn on the right, but you have also to stay, remember, a lot on the left, because if you are more on the right, you will lose also this marker because your angle is a bit different. Don't steer your wheel too much, because if you steer too much, you will close too soon the corner. So just try to steer about 20-30 degrees, no more. Then on the last phase you can steer more your wheel because you are into the corner. Uh, Here you want to ideally don't touch again the curb, because the car will be more unstable if you touch the curb. Just stay more near as possible to it without touching it. And then just keep turning on the right. If you see that you are going to touch this yellow wall, lift a little bit the throttle. But if you do everything good and perfect, you will be able to do it flat out. Also in this phase, be careful, because as you can see, you have a big bump here on the track. Like as you can see, I had a big momentum, but you should be able to control it. So don't worry about it also, because you can't do much. Like you have to take it because this is the line.
Right.
Um, yeah, there you stay a bit more on the middle of the track for turn 8. And then you go a bit more on the right for prepare turn, I think it's turn 9. You go basically with your right wheel on the white line. Don't go too much wide. Don't go too near to the right wall, because if you go too much on the right, you will be not anymore able to take the apex from the next corner. Also, because if you go more on the right, there are some bump that you can take it, but I mean, it's easier to don't take it. So my advice is stay with your wheel over the white line here.
And you can see right
And
there that there's a gutter there, so the camber falls away from you once you get past that white line. So really
yeah,
trying to
exactly.
stay away from that gutter is the most ideal thing. And like you just said, turning in a little bit for turn 5 or 6 and then getting
Yeah.
flat out up here through this hill is very crucial because earlier you're flat out for very many meters or very
Yeah.
it's not a straight, but you're flat out for a long section of track before you're getting
Mm-hmm.
set up for the next turn. So very crucial to get this one right as well.
Yeah, that's why you need to have a good exit from turn 4. Then after that you crossed this curve, basically at the end of the curve, you can go a bit straight with your wheel, because I mean, uh, here you want to place your car on the middle of the track, basically. Then when the track start to go downhill, you want to go a bit more on the right, but the track is also turning on the left. So as you can see, I'm turning my steering wheel more on the left than before. And basically you never stop to turn on the left here. Um, and yeah, that's like, depends on your line or your angle, and you need to feel how much steer angle give. But here you stay always flat out, and then you start to lift a bit the throttle, because you are not able to do turn 8, I think, or 9 flat out.
Right.
So you want to lift the throttle basically when you don't see anymore these. I don't remember the word on English of this thing.
The gutter.
Okay, the other. Basically, when you don't see it anymore by your POV, if you have a POV like that, but anyone anymore anyway, the reference is pretty much that, or you can take it also a bit before the grass begin on the right. You want to start to lift a little bit the throttle, not completely. I mean, I lifted about only 20%, maybe you can lift a bit more. But at the beginning, it's better to don't lift much. Then when you are close to the inside curve, depend also if you are wide, if you are tight. Like if you are too tight, you will be able to go on throttle again very soon. If you are wide, you will have to wait more. Um, the best thing is don't touch it too much. Like in that lap, I touch it, but it's better to probably don't touch it, because it's a bit it depends because sometimes when you touch this curb it helps you a little bit on rotation, but sometimes your car will bounce pretty badly and you will have a lot of understeer. So my advice is maybe don't take it. If you take it, it's not the end of the world, but don't think that you have to take this curb mandatory. Just if you take it, it's okay, but the perfect line is just stay with your wheel over the white line. And then basically at the beginning of this curve, I'm touching just a little bit the brake, about 5%. It's not needed. It depends about which technique you like, because you can maybe lift more the throttle without touching the brake. You can touch a bit the brake while um, you don't lift completely the throttle. It's not that important. There are just different technique. The result is similar. Do what you feel more comfortable with. And yeah, basically there you want to stay very tight. At the end of the curve, you still need to wait to go on throttle if you are too fast, because also I with the fact that I touched the curb, my car bounced a little bit, so I ran it a bit too much wide. But yeah, the important is try to don't touch this wall, because of course you will have damage and lots of time, so that's not ideal. It's pretty tough corner. My advice is lift before the beginning of the grass. Maybe lift a lot. Try to don't lift completely. Maybe stay still with 20-30% of throttle, and then wait until you are sure you will complete the corner, and lift stay with the less throttle as possible for rotate the car faster. And then when you are sure that your car rotate enough, you can slam into the throttle like 100% directly, also because you are on fourth gear with a lot of speed, so you don't have to worry about your traction here. It's just you have to worry only about your rotation for don't touch the wall on the outside of that corner. So maybe lift more, like a lot, the throttle, but for less time as possible. For go after very aggressively on throttle. Don't do the mistake of stay for a lot of time by lifting like about 50%, because when you are still pressing a lot the throttle, the car will have more understeer, because you are putting the weight of the car on the rear, so the front is more lighter, so you will have more understeer because the front tires have less load, so that's why they don't have a lot of grip. So that's why I, like, for example, I was touching a little bit the brake while I was with the 50% throttle, for give a little bit of load into the front of the car, so the car will rotate faster, and then I will be able to go on throttle sooner and more aggressively.
Okay.
Very long explanation there, but was important.
Very important.
Yeah, then we go to the next corner. I forgot the number of the corner right now. I think it's turn 10 if I'm not wrong.
I believe you're correct.
Okay, that's good. There you want to use all the curve for use much track as possible for have a wider radius for the next corner. As a turn in reference, it's pretty good there, because you have your marshal that is your friend in this case, because you start to turn in slightly earlier than the marshal, or you can take also the curb slightly earlier than the curb. Take the reference that you prefer. Don't turn in too aggressively, because over there, as you can see, the track will go in downhill. So if you turn too much too soon there, you will unstable the car. Just start to turn a lot when you are in the downhill. You can turn about 90 degrees in the last phase, also because the car have a lot of understeer. And again, you want to lift the throttle. That is pretty complicated, because you have to do a lot of correction in this corner. There are not pretty good reference, because I will show you like completely this corner that I was lifting the throttle, going again, then lifting again, touching a bit the brake. lifting a lot the throttle, then going full throttle, and then I should be good. So you have to do a lot of correction by throttle, a bit brake, more throttle, less throttle, because you need to control the load transfer of the car there, because you are going from uphill to downhill, and there is a compression also, so there are a lot of force in games. Just taking in mind that, especially this is a fast corner, so when you are going on throttle, what you are doing is stabilize the car. That maybe can sound a bit unintuitive, but because as I said before, the load will go to the rear of the car. So if you are going on throttle, you will have more stability but more understeer also. If you touch the brake, it's basically the opposite. You will have less stability but more rotation. So just take it in mind for so you will know what you have to do by the feedback of your wheel, by your line, by everything. You will need when you need um, to find oversteer or where or when understeer.
And Amadeo, are you getting
Yeah.
off of the throttle or are you lifting off of throttle before the crest, right? Before the crest of the hill, because you don't want to be unsettling the car while it's already becoming unsettled while going over the crest. I think that's one of the most
Um,
important things to highlight here is when are you exactly preparing to change the balance of the car on your own before the road does it?
Yeah, basically, at the marshal on your right that you can see, I'm starting to lifting the throttle, and I'm going about 50%, and then I just snap it a little bit the throttle again because for stabilize a bit the car, because there is when you have the compression, so the car is very unstable there. And then I'm touching a little bit the brake and lifting a lot more the throttle. Basically, when you are very near to this asphalt patch on the left, when like the grass, there is no any more grass, as you can see there on the left, like the grass is stopping and then the grass is beginning again. Basically, a bit before that the grass stop here, you will need to um, lift a lot more the throttle and maybe also touch a bit the brake, because also in this corner, since there are a bit of camber, compression, and a lot of things, you want to stay very tight to the inside, because if you will go wide, will be even worse because you will have a lot more understeer here. So you want to be sure to take the apex as soon as possible here. Um, as a reference for going full throttle again, if you are able to go in full throttle anyway, to increase your throttle application. If your line is perfect like that, that you are very tight to the inside, basically you can take the start of the curve a bit before, or anyway, at the start of the curve you should be able to go on throttle. And yeah, what we have to aim to do is slow down again pretty good for the entry, so then you can go full throttle without hesitation anymore and have a good minimum speed and carrying the momentum that is the case for have a fast lap with the GT4. So again, you want to start to turn in before the beginning of the curve. Lift a bit the throttle when you are with the marshal up here. Then you need to modulate about more throttle, less throttle, depends of the what you want that the car do on load transfer. Then you touch a little bit the brake before the grass end on your left here. And then you should be able to go full throttle before the beginning of this curve on the left. And ideally, you don't want to touch it too much. Like, as I made, like, I never touch it. So the best line is stay tighter as possible without touching the curve, because, again, your car will start to bouncing a bit if you touch the inside curve here. And then on the exit, you can use all the track. You can use also the curb. The important is don't go into the grass, because, and if you go into the grass, stop to steer too much your steering wheel, because if you go into the grass on the right here with like 90 degrees of steer angle and you are keep steering your wheel, you will lose completely your car because the left tires are on the asphalt, so they have a lot of grip. The tires on the right are on the gas, so they don't have grip. So since you are steering your wheel on the left, you will go in a snap oversteer, and probably you will take the wall on the left. So if you go wide there on the grass, just turn your steering wheel about 20-30 degrees. So rejoin the track very slowly later. Don't rush your rejoining on the track because you will probably have a snap oversteer. So if you go too wide, be careful on rejoining for don't you lose your car.
Very important mistake that people end up making here on the approach to Skyline is trying to overcorrect on their re-entry, and they end up crashing into that 7 news banner wall just to the left-hand side because their steering input is so abrupt because of the amount of steering angle that you needed to go through the previous corner. And then the other problem that I see a lot of people making is that they stay on full throttle trying to power through the grass, which is never really a great opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
So letting off throttle, decreasing the steering input down to 20, 30 degrees will give you the best opportunity to stay alive as you go to the approach to Skyline if you end up making a mistake.
Yeah. Then, for the skyline, you want to prepare it by going much as possible on the left. As you can see, you aim to go over the white line here. You also start to turn in on the right, like you go much on the left as soon as possible. Don't go on the left too late because it will be even worse. So like if you are too wide here, don't go too much on the left too late because then you will brake with the car a lot unsettled because you start to turn on the left too late and then you turn on the right, so the car is unbalanced. So you can start to turn in very soon here. Basically, when this asphalt will be like larger, the asphalt on the outside of the white line, as you can see, there is more small, is more small the asphalt between the wall and the white line. That is larger. So basically, when the white line is starting to go a bit diagonally here, is the turn-in point, and you can see by that is a bit bigger here. Then you want to brake before that the road will start to go very aggressively in downhill. You brake about 40%, like it's not a long brake, it's just one tap about 50% and release the brakes.
One quick pump of the brakes to 50%.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The brake reference is you can use the purple wall on the right. Basically, before the end of the purple wall on the right, you want to start to brake. Like when you are alienated to the J-Car Electronics banner, it's the braking point. Very quick brake, as we said. Then you are a bit of coasting for a small moment there. And then you touch a bit the throttle for stabilize the car, as I said, because you put the load on the rear of the car. Also because all the load in this moment is on the front because you are in downhill. So you want to put a bit of load on the rear for have more stability. And also you want to stay as tight as possible to the inside wall is the best turn as possible. For sure, always take a bit of margin because if you touch this wall on the inside, is basically game over because you will have a lot of damage. So especially for the race, take a bit more margin. But yeah, more tight you are on the right here, more faster you are. Then the second braking marker is basically when you are at this red wall on the right with this banner is the second braking point. And you are also basically going a bit straight, like you are fighting a bit with the car. You want to start to turn a bit on the left and you're braking 100%, brake very hard in this moment. And you want to aim to stay also use much curb as possible. And when you are starting to touch the curb, basically you are start also to trail brake you don't want to touch this curb with 100% brake because the car will be a bit more unstable because you are over the curb, and if you are braking 100% is even worse because all the load of the car is on the front because you are braking and you are in downhill, so you don't want to exaggerate, so that's why you are braking a lot sooner, because there you want to brake about 30-20%. If you brake it too much sooner than that, you can also release completely the brake and then go again um, on the brakes after the curb, because I will show you now that in this phase I'm braking about, you see, 20-30%. When the curb is finished, I'm increasing again my brake power. I'm touching again the 100% for just a moment, and then I start to release the brake again when I'm into the corner, because if I brake too much I will lock up the front tires also, because my speed is slower now, so I have less aerodynamic that is helping me to have load. So that's pretty hard. Make sure to maybe slow down a bit more here, not 50%, but maybe brake about 70%. But don't brake for too long, because if you're braking in this moment, you will lose your car, because you need agility from the front of the car, and if you are braking, you have less agility. And also, you will put too much load on the front tires while you are also turning, so you are asking too much and you will lose the car if you are going into the brakes in this moment. In this moment, you want to touch a little bit the throttle, so maybe slow down a lot more before the entry there for be safe. Then touch a bit the throttle for be stable. Brake very hard when you are on the basically it's the apex of the first corner anyway, when you are at the same level of your banner on the right, on the banner on the wall.
And Amadeo,
A
a
bit,
lot of
yeah.
people here use the tree as the reference, that tree that's hanging off the edge of the cliff. When you're touching this red banner, the tree that's red right in front of you, people use that as a
Okay.
reference in GT3s. Is it the same in GT4s where you kind of want to be pointed towards that tree to stay as tight from corner to corner as possible?
You mean this tree in front?
The one to the left, keep going.
This one?
One more.
Or this one?
That one, way over there. Yeah, that's the one. A lot of people tell
Okay.
me to try to point towards that tree as you're cutting the curb to stay as close as possible. Is that true for GT4s as well, or not so much?
I'm honestly never used the tree as a reference. So I don't really know, but I think it's better to aim to the curb, because if you aim with your eyes to the tree, you lose a little bit your where you are going, because the car go where you are going. Yeah, it's true that the tree is aligned to the curb, but it's not that precise. So personally, I use basically in this moment I'm watching this curve on the left in that moment of the lap. So I don't really know how to answer to that, because I never use it also for GT3. So
Fair enough.
I don't really know. I just can say that I use the curve as a reference here for where braking and where start to turn in.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, so there you are braking 100% in this moment. When you are over the curb, you want to brake maximum 20-30%. Also because when the car will stop to be over the curb, you have a small jump, so it's not good for, like, it will be very easy to lock up the tires. Then you are braking again 100% for slow down a lot your car. Trail braking in the last phase of the corner for don't abuse the front tires. Stay very tight to the inside also in that corner. You want to go also on throttle basically in the middle of the corner here. You don't have big reference, like even on the middle of the corner, depend also about your line. So I think it's better to don't give references, because there is no clear reference, and it's very hard to be always in the same place in this corner, because you never do the same downhill.
Right.
So It depends. Like if you're more tighter, you can go more sooner and more aggressively on throttle, of course. Then you want to stay as much as possible on the right for prepare better as possible the left, because it will be important to have also a good exit from this left. And as you can see, I'm with my right wheel over the white line, and as a steering, as a turning point, you can take this how you call it
The billboard.
yeah, this banner publicity banner. Basically, when you are just behind it is the turning point, because there I'm still straight with the steering wheel, and then I turn left. And also you want to be very aggressive in this with your steering input in this corner, because it's a very um, close corner, and you need to rotate the car very quickly here. So you brake also very, I mean, aggressively, not 100%, but about 70-80%. And basically, in the same moment that you are steering, you are also braking. So the reference is the same. And yeah, it's harder to nail it, because also in that lap, I mean, was pretty fast because I was very close to the inside wall, and more close you are to the inside wall, better is, because sooner you can go on throttle. But I mean, it's very easy to have big damage here, so be careful. Maybe slow down a bit more the car, so you will have the time in this moment to correct your line, like opening your steering wheel for don't be too close to the inside. Then you are starting to go on throttle basically before the apex of this corner. On when you are in the compression, you want to go on throttle for stabilize a bit the car. Don't go 100%, but just put a 20, 30, 50% maximum. And yeah, you will probably have maybe an oversteer if you entry in that corner very fast as I made. So maybe slow down a bit more the car on entry, brake a bit more hard, maybe for a bit more long. Don't brake while you are in that moment, because you will unsettle your car. So just make sure to comfort before the compression for stabilize your car, and maybe slow down a bit more sooner for have a safe line. And then you can go very soon on throttle for have a good exit out of there and carrying your speed until the braking zone that is turn 18, I think. There you can use all the track, like you can go even over this curb. There are no issue on that.
Can you play back from Skyline all the way through the Dippa for us?
Yeah,
Just to show what that looks like at full speed on board?
sure.
Thank you. Cutting all the way to the right, going over the curb, pointing towards the red banner, then at the billboard is where you turn in aggressively, get back on throttle, no more than 50%, and then powering through to the next corner. That looks beautiful, Amadeo. Thank you very much for showing us that.
Thank you. Then you stay very close on the side wall to this left corner. As you can see, I'm very, very tight, because I want to prepare as better as possible this right corner, because I want to stay also tight in that right corner for a better radius for the left corner. That is very important, because the exit of the left corner, after that, like, you will have the longest straight of the track, so it's very important to have a good exit from turn, I think, 19 or 18. So there is a turn in reference. You can take, I already forgot the name because I'm very bad, this thing.
The gutter.
The gutter is basically when you are starting to turn in, if you are that close on the left like me. A bit later than that maybe. But when you don't see it anymore, like half a second later, you need to start to turn on the right. And also, as you can see, you start to lift the throttle very early, like a lot earlier than the corner begins. The reference could be the end of the wall on the right. Basically, is when you are starting to go on. When you stop to lift the throttle is a bit later than the end of the green wall on the right. Um, you can lift you have two options again, or you lift completely the throttle, or if you stay always about 20-30%, you need also to tap a little bit the brake for rotate the car. Then here you want to stay very tight. You keep managing about a bit of throttle and brake for rotate the car, but don't too much for don't unsettle it. It's all about load transfer here, as I explained it before. Then you want to brake straight when the track is starting to go in downhill. You want to have your steering wheel straight in the first phase for don't lock up the tire and have the maximum brake force as possible. And yeah, you want to stay so very tight on the beginning of the corner. The brake reference is basically a bit before that the track is going on downhill, as you can see. When the uphill is end is when you are starting to brake. When you are the uphill is end and you are starting to go downhill. That's in the middle of that is when you are braking. Downshift to second gear. Start to braking very early because it's easy to lock up. Also, the turn-in point is pretty tough here because you don't have clear reference. You can take the banner on the left when you see in front of you the banner of the 100 years, I think is.
Yep.
I think
100 years
yeah.
of Bentley.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, the turning point in when you are seeing, depending on which view setting you have, but let's say between this Angelier and the Bentley logo, between that is basically the turn-in reference. Also here, you steer your wheel very aggressively because you want to rotate the car as fast as possible. Remember that you want to stay tighter as possible as well in this corner because you need to go on throttle as soon as possible. It's very important to don't be late on throttle here because you will lose a lot of time. So be careful on your entry for maximize your exit again. So you stay very tight. At the end of the wall on the left, basically when the walls start to be smaller, less higher, is the reference where you go much on throttle. Oops. Be small mistake by me. Okay, we are fine. Basically, that's the reference of where you want to go on throttle. Also, you can use all the track on the right, even if you give a little kiss on the wall on the right. You will lose a bit of speed, but it's not in the of the world. Like the ideal line, of course, is don't touch it, but if you touch it, it's not the end of the world. If it's a little touch.
Little kiss is okay.
Yeah, exactly. Then we have this long straight. Okay, there is another flat out corner. We just have to say that use all the asphalt here, like when the grass ends, use this asphalt patch over the white line, so you have a little bit will be a little bit easier to do this flat out corner. You will carrying more speed because you will lose less steer angle later. So and it will be also easier to stay a lot on the right after this small corner because after you want to stay as much as possible on the right and brake as straighter as possible. So use also all the track here. There for braking reference is a bit before the 150 meter board, like 20-30 meter before it. Yeah. Also, you can take this brown patch as a brake reference, more or less. It's when you don't see anymore, basically, because it's when your car is right. It's just on the same place of the brown patch, so you can't see it anymore. Basically, when you can't see anymore the brown patch, you brake. Or like me, you can use the 150 meter board. You brake about 10-20 meters before it, and you're fine. Brake very very hard until the 50 meter board. You should be braking 100% and stay straight with your steering wheel. Then after that, after the 50 meter board, when the white wall start on the right, with the big logo of this, I don't know what is, like a wheel rate. You start to turn in a little bit. Trail brake also, don't brake too much on the last phase of the corner. Ideally, you don't want to touch it this curb because it will unsettle the car. In this lap, I touch it, and as you can see, I had a snap oversteer. You don't lose too much, but ideally, don't touch it. You can also downshift in second gear if you want, depend on which GT4 you have. I think it's better third gear if you are able to carry a good speed, but with Chevrolet you can also downshift to second gear. But I think most of GT4 need the third gear here. Then also you start to go on throttle, basically when you are in the apex of this corner on the left, basically on the middle of this corner on the left, you want to go on throttle. If you're on third gear, you can go very aggressively because you are in low RPM, so you don't have a lot of torque but by your engine.
Okay.
Then also on the right, you use all the track, you go all over the curve. Also on the exit, you can use all the track, so you are just carrying the momentum, just be very smooth here, carrying the speed. Then you go as much as you can very soon on the right for brake straight. Then braking marker here a bit before the 100-meter board, just a bit before, like 5 meters, not much. You brake very hard and straight until the 50-meter board. You are after it, still braking 100%. You start to tail braking and turn in a bit before of this grass end, or start to turn on the right basically, or when the white line became double anyway, is when you start to turn in. Or you can take, I mean, I think it's hard to read, but this um, grid position I think is 54, 45, I don't know, but I mean it's not easy to read it, but also I don't think it's easy to take the number because it's like the number 5, so I advise to take for turn in. I mean, you can take that is the second one after the 50-meter board is when you want to start to turn in, basically.
Okay.
I mean, between the second one and the third one. Then you go on throttle at the end of the curb on the inside. You want to stay again very tight, but don't touch this curb because it's very high. It will unsettle your car. When this curb ends, you can go on throttle.
Can you show us a view of that curb, by the way, Amadeo?
By chase cam or by free cam?
By free cam, because that end of the curb is very high, like you said, but it's also very steep. It ends very abruptly, where it just drops off. There's not a lot of length to it, right? It just automatically just cuts off, and that's what unsettles the car a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And also make sure that when you're going on throttle here, you start to go straight with your steering wheel, just steer less, because if you are keeping on 90 degrees with a lot of throttle, depends how much torque you will have, you can or spin your car or have a lot of understeer. So make sure that while you are going more aggressively on throttle, you will steer less your steering wheel.
Okay.
You can use also all the track here, go over this curb, don't cross it because you will go into the grass. Even if you go, you don't lose too much, but on the exit then you will have a small bump. You don't lose too much, but the ideal line is use all the curb, but don't go over it. And yeah, that's basically it. The lap is over.
Sounds like a lap around Bathurst. Would you mind giving us a hot lap tour in case anybody has any further questions? I'll turn off my camera and I'll let you do a full speed lap around the track here in just a second. Ready to go when you are, sir.
Okay, I will go right now. Okay, so basically we start here the lap. We want to brake at the later than the 100-meter board, around 70-80 meter. Make sure to have a good exit after turn 1 because you will have a very long straight. So have a easy braking point. Don't overshoot the entry. Make sure to maximize your exit because you will lose a lot of time with a back exit here. Here you want to brake later than the 100-meter board or sooner than the asphalt patch on the left. Stay very on the inside because on the outside here there are a lot of bumps and you will lose a lot of time because the car will have a lot of understeer. Here you want to brake at the apex of turn 3. go much wider, not over the white line because it will unsettle the car for the bumps again. Make sure to go throttle very soon because there you will have a long phase where you are full throttle. Then you stay on the middle of the track, going there a bit more on the right for prepare this corner. Don't abuse the curb here because it will unsettle the car. Again, don't touch the inside curb for don't unstabilize the car. There you want to brake before the downhill. Then there is the second braking marker. Start to trail braking here. Brake very hard here. Turn in very aggressively for rotate the car faster. Then you want to prepare much on the left for stay very tight on the right. Brake very hard and soon. Steering the wheel very aggressively and going off throttle very soon because you want to have a very good exit because after that corner, as you can see, you have a very, very long straight. So it's very important to maximize the exit of that corner. Here you want to use all the track, the asphalt patch on the left for have a easier line here. Brake before the 150 meter board. Start turning later than the 50 meter board. Don't try to touch not too much the inside curb here because as you can see the car will lose a bit of balance. Braking tiny bit before the 100 meter board here, downshift to second, don't touch the inside curb because again you will unstabilize the car, use all the track on the exit and that's the lap around Mont Panorama. Yeah, basically the best overtaking spot could be no, not turn one because after you have a long straight, but here because you can take a lot of slipstreams, so you should be able maybe to be side by side here, or even if you are just 110 behind, you can try to send it on the inside here. Make sure to don't touch the inside curb because you will bounce and understeer to the car that is on your outside. But I think it's the best overtaking spot because even if you overshoot your entry that you are too fast, at the end here you will just go into the grass and you will cut this corner, so you will not lose that much because in all the other corner if you go too wide you will touch the wall because even the last corner it's a overtaking spot but it's not that easy, and if you overshoot the last corner as you can see there is a wall out of the asphalt, so you will pay a price for it. So the best overtaking spot I think is there because mistakes are allowed there, so that's my advice.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the advice. Does anybody have any questions in chat? Otherwise, we'll head back over to the studio and wrap things up with Amadeo Castorino. I see no questions in chat for you, Amadeo. Thank you very much for your insight. Thank you very much for your advice. And more importantly, thank you very much for your time that you're investing here for the Tracklicious team and all the good wishes that you give all the drivers and the rookies and the GT4 Open. Racing on Mondays starting at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, ending close to 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We got the GT4 rookies, and then we have the GT4 Open coming at you right after that. Amadeo, it's always been a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining me for another week of GT4 Hot Lap guides with the Tracklicious team. Do you have any other final words before we let you go?
Just thank you guys for this streaming. Thank you also to all the chat for following us. And yeah, hope to everyone will have a good race on the next week. And yeah, just be careful on the race. Like take your margin because it's very easy to hit the wall and compromise your race. So take it easy, especially in the first lap that you have to warm up yourself. So yeah, just that and have a good race, guys.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody. And as always, please stay safe. And if you have time, join us in just 2 hours' time where we're doing the IRL in real life friends and family swap. Thank you, everybody. And remember to always, please stay safe. Bye-bye.